call the meeting to order. And if I could ask Mr. Garvin to give us an invocation, please.
Okay, Heaven, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for your love and your watch care. We ask now that you would guide us. We pray that your Holy Spirit will lead us. We ask that you would be with our military personnel all over the world. We pray for their safety and their return home real soon. Forgive us our sins in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Garvin. Shelley, can we get a roll call, please?
John here. Bill Cherokee.
Honey.
Bill Anglin.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Audrey Connor. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Meredith Bailey. Ron Garvin.
Honey.
Taylor King. Jackie Bob Martin. David Horton. Kara Callan Watts.
Okay, entertain a motion to approval of September 12th minutes.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes will be approved. The next item on the agenda is Cemetery Restoration Assistance Report. That's usually Mr. Greenfeather. I'm assuming that's Donna today. Is that you, Doug? You'll come forward, please. You all should have a copy of the report that was left on the table for you. If you'll stand at the podium, please. And just sorry. You should have a copy of this report in front of you. Does anyone have any questions for Donna? Or Donna, is there anything that you would like to share with us about this report? This is Donna Chufale, I believe.
There's really not been any changes in 06. The ones that were funded for 06, they've been, most of them been coming in, with their stuff. But 05, I just gave up on them.
We still have those that are outstanding.
Yeah, 05. Several of them from when they first got the money.
And that's the back sheet.
Yes. Well,
That's the
so
third
the
sheet.
incomplete for 05 is the first page.
Okay. Are there any questions for Donna regarding this report? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Thank you, Donna. Good report. Director's report, Dr. Schley.
I have a short report this morning. The gentleman the consultant for the cemetery, wasn't able to finish his report in time to be here today, so he will be here next month. So we have begun our community classes. We don't have attendance enrollment there yet, but they have begun, and some of them won't be beginning until this week. And we have 10 of those. 9. And so we'll have that total. We're supposed to have over 987 in the online language classes that are enrolled. Those are the ones that we monitor. The live broadcast we monitor. Those that are videotaped, we don't monitor attendance there. So it could be well over 1,000 in those classes. I have been advertising for a secretary. If y'all know anyone who would like to work in a cultural resource center, because she retired, and so now that position has been posted. Mary Ballou from up toward Locust Grove. And then we have final numbers for the emails and things like that. We've answered over 1,400 emails on cultural and language. For the Heritage Center, They conducted the ancient Cherokee Days. There were 680 in attendance on last Thursday and Friday. Upcoming events for them is October 28th. They have a pottery sculpture class conducted by Bill Glass Jr. November 1st, they'll host the JOM Olympic Games. On November 15th, they'll host JOM Leadership event. And then on November 18th, they'll have a bow making class. And we're also planning, the Cultural Resource Center has moved a couple of times in the last couple of years, but on November 9th, we're wanting to have open house from there at the Cultural Resource Center where we are now, and it will be hosted at that afternoon on November 9th. Would like to invite you to come to that. No. Just some refreshments.
Non-traditional.
Sorry. Yeah, non-traditional cultural resource center here.
Are there any questions for Dr. Sly regarding her report? I'd like to recognize Ms. Tanya Weevil in our audience, that big audience back there.
I forgot to say, if you have any questions about the Heritage Center events, she's here and can answer them.
Any questions? Going once? Okay. Mr. England? Yes, sir, you can. Okay. Any other questions or requests for Dr. Schley? Going once, going twice. Thank you, Dr. Schley. This is auction today. Okay, under old business, I think, according to the minutes, we had a request to table the information about the Chief's grave site monuments, and we did not put it on this agenda because we did not know if the information had been gathered. Donna, do you know anything about that? About the Chief's grave site monuments? Dawn was handling that. Okay, so we'll just put that on maybe for next month. Be sure to let Dawn know that he'll be on the agenda again for next month. Okay, going under old business, we have the Cherokee Artists Association copyright issues and requests. I left early last month, so I didn't hear the discussion on this and was reminded by our secretary here that we needed some action, and I believe Mr. Hembry is going to speak to this a little bit.
Yes, last week Chairman Yargi and I met with Mr. Glass, Mr. Horchie, and who was the third person?
Foster.
And we had a very good discussion about the concerns of the Cherokee artists. Out of that meeting came a framework of a contract proposal, a 3-tiered contract concerning copyrights and purchases of art. The first contract will be a flat-out purchase of a piece of art with no copyright considerations. If someone wants to buy it, they just buy it. The second will be the purchase of a piece of art with, and if you tend to use the image in a promotional or educational way, that there will be a small copyright attached to that. The third type of contract will be a purchase of art with a commercial copyright, that if you intend to recreate the statue or recreate the image for sale or profit in a print type form or any type of form, but if you intend to sell a reproduction of that art, there will be a larger percentage of copyright that will go back to the artist. Those artists who encouraged that they were representatives of the Cherokee Artists Association were in favor of that 3-tier type of system. They are going to have a meeting, I believe, I want to say last Monday of each month, and I intend to be at the next Cherokee Artists Association meeting and have a framework of these 3 contracts to make sure that they're on board. We'll bring it to the committee, and we'll also consult with CNE and the administration's attorneys to make sure that everybody else is on board. But we had a really good productive meeting about getting that framework started, and hopefully within the next 60 days we'll have something that's going to satisfy you.
So this item will be put on the, or for the draft legislation itself will be put on the next month's agenda.
Yes, I would just say let's have this a revolving topic on old business until this is complete.
Move to table.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to table. Don?
I was wanting to ask a question.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
How does you think of copyright? I always thought that took a long time to get copyright on something. Is this different or not?
Well, see, and this one first thing I said to individuals about, I don't know art. Okay, my involvement in an art transaction is going to a gallery and buying something and put it on my wall. Okay, now there are 2 types of copyright, or what we may even be thinking of as patent. That if you get if you get a commercial copyright, a logo, etc., you've got to go through this process, United States copyright law. There is a copyright with artist work that if whoever created this and I use their likeness without permission, well, they have an action against me. Okay, it is something that we're going to make sure that everyone's rights are protected, and now that's my main goal.
So being an artist gives you certain rights to put your...
Yes, it does, just like a songwriter, just like a songwriter.
I didn't know how that worked.
There's a difference between a commercial copyright / patent type situation and one where there's intellectual property involved, in which a song is written or a piece of art.
Thank you,
I think we're out of order, but I think Mr. Keene had a comment. Did you have a comment or a
We're
question?
still in discussion, right?
Well, motion to table,
Oh.
but if we can get that withdrawn.
Well, if you want to withdraw your motion to table to allow this question to myself, that would be proper. If you want to go ahead and vote to table it,
But we are out of order, right?
you would have to
Motion
get
to
her
table.
to withdraw her motion.
We have a motion to table, we have the second.
I'm okay with withdrawing it, so
Me too.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Todd, I think what part of the concern was, I've been following this for a long time, is that there seems to be a consistent pattern that with our contracts and everything else, that the artists seem to get forced into having to give up their copyrights. This has been going on for years. So I know we have Gina back there, and we could recognize her, the majority of the work we've done with C&E. Gina can get you to comment that this will finish this off for at least another period of time. I guess my question is it possible for any artist to come in and say, I don't want you to take my copyrights, regardless of the type of work?
And it is possible with us. I'm not understanding thoroughly what Todd's doing versus what Cherokee Nation Enterprises has already done. So, I'm requesting clarification because I think Todd's doing something separate than what we've already instituted at CNE. We have a 3-tier system similar to what, implemented a 3-tier system similar to what Todd has just talked about in place already. And depending on the image or the piece, if you're selling us a woven belt, we're not going to ask you for copyrights on a woven belt. If you're selling us a piece of pottery, more than likely we are not going to ask you for copyrights on a piece of pottery. What we are concerned about is some pieces of flat art. And so not all artists will be asked to give up a copyright or asked to negotiate with CNE to give up a copyright. It just depends on the piece. If it's something that we feel strongly about, for example, the Talmadge Davis piece we used over the weekend, if it's something that we feel strongly about, that we want to know that we're going to reproduce it, then we're going to try to talk and negotiate copyrights with that. But all of the other pieces, we have decided we're not going to negotiate copyrights at all. We will just buy the piece, we will display it in our casino facilities, and we will be done with it there. So,
Well, I mean, what we are doing may be very well on similar lines. And we're going to work with CNE to make sure that we're all focusing on everything. But what my discussion with the artist was that we want something that's going to be good for the entire Cherokee Nation. And I'll right now, CNE is the major purchaser of art. We want to make sure that this is not just CNE specific, but we will work, as I stated earlier, we will work with CNE and everyone to make sure that everybody's fine on this research issue.
I have a question for Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't understand hardly anything what's going on here. The reason that I made a motion to ask you to work with the artist the last meeting. My concern was to protect the artist. Thank you.
And again, I would like to clarify that this action, Todd, this request that was made of Todd came out of action of last month's meeting at Mr. Martin's action. And it was passed, and so I was just following up, and you have in front of you CNE's policy, and Mr. Hembry also had that. There have been several things that were discussed with those artists, with those few artists, and again, we will bring it back and work it out. I don't think we're trying to cut any entity, any part out of the negotiation. I think we're trying to come up with something that could be workable between the artists and Cherokee Nation and Cherokee Nation Industries. So, I mean, enterprises, excuse me. So, this will come back. Hopefully, we'll have this sharing of it and then be back on the agenda for next month. Thank you.
Excuse my address. I have two daughters in a cross-country meet at 10 o'clock, so
At this time, Todd, that's what I was going to ask, if we could impose on your time a little bit more and go ahead and move you up to the other, since you are under new business, the LA 2505. If you have time to do that? What? Oh, sorry. We can table this until next month?
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor? All right, and if I could ask Todd to go ahead and move him up, get a motion on that.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Todd, thank you.
yes, at the request of the last language and cultural meeting there, and there was a request to amend the what I call myself the 1% rule, 1% of new construction to be provided for art in that facility. And there was the anomaly of the parking garage. There's going to be a great amount of money spent on a parking garage. You don't necessarily have a place in a parking garage to hang fine art, and we needed an out to put that type of money into the nearest Cherokee facility, and also to make sure that it was permissible for them for the expenditures of this money to go not only to art but also to the suitable display and framing of said art. I've made some additions to the act that is in your booklet. Those additions are underlined. I'll point out the highlights. This is an act amending Legislative Act 2505 relating to the preservation of Cherokee culture at Cherokee Nation facilities. The first change would come under construction or renovation, which it would state. This act applies to any new construction or any renovation to an existing facility, the cost of which exceeds $500,000. We add, provided that the building is suitable to house and display art. That came from the suggestions of the CNE. That's in the definition provision. Under the substantive provisions, the law would read, for any construction or renovation to an existing Cherokee Nation facility or property, or any facility or property in which the Cherokee Nation is the sole or majority shareholder. The budget of such shall set aside 1% of the total cost of construction or renovation for artwork that is historically and culturally appropriate for the facility, and provided that the artwork is designed and created by Cherokee Nation citizens. We add, the facility being built or renovated must be suitable to housing and displaying art. If said facility is found not suitable to housing or displaying art, the 1% of the construction budget referred to in this act shall be set aside for distribution to the nearest Cherokee Nation-owned facility capable of housing and displaying art.
Todd, may I
Yes.
interrupt you? I have a question here.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'm reading along and all, but is there any way that we could strike nearest and distribution to the nearest Cherokee Nation-owned facility to an appropriate Cherokee Nation facility? I mean, because the nearest might not be where we need it work.
To the most appropriate.
That is why we're here.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the word nearest to appropriate.
Okay, I have a motion to amend, change a couple of words. I have a motion and a second. Kara?
Not me, but I just.
Well, just like any,
If I get money spent in Rogers County, that is not, I don't want it to all come to Talbot like it has been, just because somebody else thinks that it might be Talbot and just knows the rest of Florence needs artwork too, and needs to be represented in the community.
well, there's two ways to do it. One would be, we could add a clause in there that the council will decide, you know, where, okay, just let me finish. Is that, but how an act works is that there, you know, if we give the language, it is administered by the administration, the executive branch of it. So therefore, if we say nearest, that limits where they're going to put it. They're going to say the nearest, all right, because you know you have new construction, it's going to go the nearest. If you say appropriate, well, that gives whoever's administrating the act broad latitude to where that goes. Now we can limit, or we can give them broad latitude. That's up to you all.
Mr. Jackbaker?
Madam Chair, could we say the nearest appropriate Cherokee Nation?
Oh,
It would be the
same
nearest,
thing.
but, well, no, not necessarily. No, it would not be the same thing.
Excuse
It
me.
would
Okay.
be the nearest appropriate. It wouldn't necessarily be the nearest, but it would be the most appropriate. That's close by.
Okay, whatever you all want to.
Mr. Crittenden?
I just thought that, you know, along with what Kara's talking about, if, you know, we may have 3 or 4 appropriate places, and they may all need some artwork. If the initial construction is taking place in Adair County, let's say, and they do have a place that can house artwork and protect it, and so on and so on, and there's also one in Cherokee County and one in Rogers County, if the initial construction of whatever the building is or the renovation is, we might put the nearest appropriate or whatever with first consideration given to a facility in that district, if there is one.
Mr. Garvin?
Along those same lines, what Bill's talking about, it needs to stay in the same county.
Why?
Kara, and then Audrey.
I guess some folks would understand why these spots are very apparent in some counties, but not in others. And that's what I struggle with. The other part is this also doesn't account for some of the things built into a facility that are necessarily like the stamped concrete with our Cherokee design or the wallpaper and those things. Should there be a balance here, or is that not also included somehow? Where is that counted?
Well, that counts into the actual design and construction of the facility. I don't think you would want to say that part of that 1% is, and I perceive that the intent of this act is to buy additional pieces of art. Now, obviously, you're going to design your building as aesthetically pleasing as possible, and that's going to involve, any number of things. I don't think we need to. I don't think that's the intent of this act. This intent is after your design, after your construction. If it exceeds $500,000, 1% is going to go to additional actual pieces of art to be displayed at the facility. Because otherwise, I think you might have a bleeding design cost and actual art purchase.
To bring this discussion closer to a close, because I know Todd wants to get out of here, I'm going to go ahead and take one more comment, let you finish, and then I'll take Audra's, and then we're going to vote to change that those two words.
So, was the friendly amendment accepted?
Well,
I don't think we voted to accept it. I think it's on the table, is it not? We don't have a motion, we just have.
I wouldn't take his motion. It was his idea.
Who did make a motion? Okay.
Yeah, yield my time to make a friendly amendment.
May I ask for a friendly amendment? So it says the nearest appropriate?
the motion,
I just had a suggestion.
I made a motion to change a word, and Jack Bob seconded it. And, but
Sorry, we didn't have a motion down, we just, I think we had a, did we not? Oh, we did? Okay.
the
Bill John
near,
made a motion to strike nearest, change it to appropriate, Jackie Bob seconded.
Okay, so that's what we need to vote up or down, because we can't have two motions, okay? So, was your comment to the motion? Excuse me, Audra, was your comment to the motion?
I wanted to make a comment, yes, that
Okay.
I'm afraid if we get very restrictive, then we're gonna be coming back in another 2 months and trying to figure out, somebody is not able to use the act to do what its purpose is set out to do. That's my comment. I would not agree with having anything as far as narrowing down to staying within that district. I think whatever project is going would be the project that should be considered. We have a new no water clinic going, Cherokee clinic, not anything going on right now in Cherokee County where we're going to get everything. So, I believe that we.
So you think
leave it up to
appropriate's appropriate?
Yeah. I believe that the folks that will utilize this act to purchase art have the ability to make those decisions comfortably.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to change nearest to appropriate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Is that only one no? So, I think we have made the decision, then we're going to use the word appropriate and leaving that decision up to those that are appropriate. Yes, Mr. Baker?
Madam Chair, back up under definitions under construction and renovation, where we added the language is added, provided that the building is suitable to house and display art.
Yes.
I believe that excludes items such as parking lots, and that is not needed because the purpose of it is under Section 4, that the facility being built or renovated must be suitable to housing and displaying art. But it appears to me that under the definition, that would exclude the 1% from applying to that. This act applies to any new construction or renovation to an existing facility, the cost of which exceeds $500,000, provided that the building is suitable to house and display art. And by adding that, we're excluding the construction if the building is not suitable.
Well, I mean, this was at the request of C&E officials, okay? That was my understanding. I personally didn't see a problem with the act in the first place, but I was asked to make an amendment to make it more clear, and this is an attempt to make it more clear.
And again, that's came from the C&E's suggestions to make it more workable for them. I think we just took the language and worked it in.
Yeah,
I'm
this
sorry.
is exactly their language.
Mr. Baker.
I
Mr.
move that we
Jackley.
strike the item under construction and renovation because it's covered under section 4. So there's no question.
Have a motion and second to strike, provided that the building is suitable to house and display art. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
So I think,
What's your comment? to
yeah,
that?
yeah, I think it's
Okay.
exactly that, and it's cleared up under the provisions of the law, so I think it's redundant anyway, and it could be construed that they wouldn't have to do the 1%.
Under the section 4, the last change there, Todd, expenditures under this act will be the last change that was made. That was to include the framing, display, archiving process, or things of that nature. Was that correct?
That is correct. And I tried to make that language as broad as possible. To
Cover those things.
To fit into any interpretation.
And I'd move to strike it.
On section 4?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my whole thought of this deal was that we were going to help the artists take these dollars, get them into the artist's hands to keep the art alive and to supplement these Cherokee artists. And if we take half the money and do it in framework or display cabinets or whatever, I think we ought to call a spade a spade and say we're just doing 0.5%. And I don't think that any of these construction projects could not have built into them the display cabinets, and I realize framing is expensive, but either we want to do our artist right or we're not, and my motion is to remove the expenditures under this act may include the cost of appropriate display and installation of artwork.
Have a motion? Okay, I have a motion to take that part out. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Getting ready to go twice with
No,
that.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and have a
I'm
second
ready.
to strike that addition. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
You want a roll call?
No.
Okay,
No, that's
clearly. Okay, so we're going to leave that language, which will allow the expenditures for framing, displaying, and archiving process to come out of the 1% that's set aside for art. That's clear. Okay, all right. All in favor of this act with the amended language, we'll get a roll call. Oh, excuse me, did we get a motion for the?
Move past by acclamation.
Okay, move to pass by acclamation. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Garvin, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. I finished. Mr. Baker, I'm sorry, did you have a comment or a question?
No, I did not.
Okay. Thank you, Todd, for letting us take your time. I'm sorry. I know you would need to. Okay, the next item, let me get my head back on straight. Number 2, possible amendment of Legislative Act 3304. I believe that was at Mr. Jack Baker's request.
Yes.
It is in the packet.
Yes, and under section 5, the last item I, says all expenditures for this program shall be for materials only, and those proposals or applications demonstrating self-help by labor contribution and community involvement shall be given preference. And I do not believe that is being followed. And I think a lot of cases it's strictly for mowing and
maintenance, which I don't have a problem with, but I just think that we should
Strike that?
either strike that or amend it in some way so that we can.
And I think, if I may, I think part of the reason that was put under there is because several council members said that they didn't want people hired to take care of, they didn't want personnel and a recurring cost of personnel to take care of cemeteries, and I think that's why that language is written that way, but
And I don't have a problem with language if we were following it, but I don't think it's being followed.
it's not. Mr. Garvin?
I think that's a good point. There's so many cemeteries, nobody will help out, and you can't get family to help or anything. So it's left up to somebody to hire somebody. So I definitely think we need to strike this, and we'll be able to follow our own rules. My opinion.
I have in person, I have you, okay? Okay.
And I agree with Don. I have a couple of situations where people have been taking care of the cemetery for the last 30 years, and their health no longer will allow it. And they hire a grandson to mow it, but they can't get him to mow it. You know, and maybe in a few years, as he comes along, he might start donating that time. But right now, we've got some of these cemeteries where the elders just physically cannot mow it anymore. And so I've moved to strike I.
Carrie, you have a comment?
Yes, I would support striking it in entirety. First of all, we would then be in non-compliance with self-help, which we as a council passed. I think that we still have that, they still have to demonstrate self-help. And I think that our goal is still that most people should be purchasing like fencing or repairing headstones and those kind of things. There should be capital improvements into the cemetery. But I would be okay with exception at the time of approval, but they have to be noted for those that would need folks hire things done. And especially like in some of the older ones, there are specialty things that maybe they can't do if they're going to repair a headstone. But I could see getting those hired done, or if we know an elder demonstrated 20 or 30 years of taking care of the cemetery, then let know that they're going to pay somebody, so we can know who they're paying and how much they're paying, and those kind of things, so that it's just upfront. And then we would be in compliance, and I think that's what Councilman Baker was bringing forward, and not to just strike it. So.
Okay, Mr. Baker?
Madam Chairman, let me withdraw that and make another stab. Let's drop the words expenditures for this program shall be for materials only and those. And then it would read, all proposals or applications demonstrating self-help by labor contribution and community involvement shall be given preference. And that'd be a form of motion. Just strike that one set of words, the shall be for materials only.
Okay, we had to withdraw the previous motion and withdraw the second, I'm assuming, and we have a new motion. Striking expenditures for this program shall be for materials only and those. So, everybody clear? We have a motion. Do we have a second on that one?
I'll second it.
We have a second. The two Bakers teamed up to do that. Everybody clear what we're voting on? And actually, this item was put on as discussion, so I guess we need to, I don't know, how do you do that? You handle that? I need some advice. And we just pass it with a discussion and then pass it on to council or to rules? Help other chairpersons pass it on to rules where it can be passed formally with the changes? Oh, wow. Well, don't. Okay. Okay, so we are clear. All in favor? Pardon me? I was just trying to get clear on the process here. We're striking expenditure under item I. We're striking all of the words, expenditures for this program shall be for materials only and those. which the new reading will be all proposals or applications demonstrating self-help by labor contribution and community involvement shall be given preference. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, by acclamation, it was an act, but all approved. And can I get a motion to pass on to rules? I have a motion, I have a second to pass this on to rules, where we'll see it again with the changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item under new business, approval of cemetery restoration applications. We have those in front of us. They're all under District 2. I have a hand up, Mr. Crittenden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All of these cemeteries are over in Adair County, it looks like, and they've all received money prior FY06. Their projects are listed as completed on the last sheet of the tracking log. They took care of business, and they've got new applications. And with that, I'd move for approval.
I have a motion and a second for approval on all 3 of these applications from District 2. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, they'll be approved. Coming down to the section of announcements, as we've already handled item 2. November 14th at 9 a.m. is the next language and culture meeting. Any other announcements? I just wanted to remind y'all about my activity going on at my church. It's not a political hog fry. It's just a good old Christian Fellowship hog fry. Come out Saturday at 1 o'clock. Cedar Springs Baptist Church, 4 miles north of Gore on Highway 100, and we'll have gospel singing in 3 languages. So.
You said we had to sing or something.
Well, you don't have to, I guess. I could let you out of that. Yes, Cedar Springs Baptist Church.
And I would like to express my appreciation to Phyllis and David Norton for the great work they did in hosting the Sequoia event on October 6th at Sequoia's Cabin.
You all missed a great day. If you weren't there, you missed out. All right, with all announcements made, motion to adjourn. Have a motion, have a second. All in favor? Aye. Adjourn. It's starting at 1, excuse me.